that we all need to strive to tell the truth and be willing to speak up to what we believe. And even if that may change over time, and we may have to say, I believed this thing and now I believe something else. So no, nothing is off limits.
Amazing. Okay, great. And there's a lot that I want to talk about. Some things Penelope wants to talk about.
Yeah, I'm just going to dive right in. Are you still on your raw milk fast?
I'm literally like barely eating. I did it until Easter for Lent. And then the first day I ate a dosa, like a fermented tortilla thing with a little bit of potatoes. And I was like, oh, I don't want food. And then I've been eating, like, my husband says I'm micro-dosing food. Like, I'm eating a little bit of food and I'm still doing like a half gallon of raw milk or raw yogurt a day. But I much prefer the just milk diet, to be honest. And I lost a ton of weight.
How much weight did you lose?
I was bulimic growing up. And so I don't have a scale in my house as part of my recovery because I can be obsessive about it. But I was in a size 8, tight in an 8, and I'm now in a 4. So that many dress sizes.
Wow. So that's probably 30 pounds or so.
Yeah, I think at least.
Wow. You must feel totally transformed in your mind, body, and heart.
It's interesting. I'm really strong and I have a very active lifestyle. I'm carrying kids. I'm carrying 5-gallon buckets of feed. I'm carrying sacks of flour for making bread, whatever. So I'm strong and I'm healthy. And so I actually didn't have this like upset about my weight until, I mean, I knew that I was heavier than I wanted to be. I knew I had 4 kids back to back to back in my late 30s and early and then mid 40s. I knew that, and I knew that I was heavier than I've always been about 125-ish if I was healthy and eating healthy, and to 130 something. So I was kind of just always the same. And then with all the kids back to back, I knew I was heavier, but I mean, I had a husband that loves me. I had a life that I love. I felt healthy. I was eating really clean. I didn't really have that much issue with my weight. And I just was kind of like accepting that it was part of the having children at the age that I did and that my children are 100% worth it. But when I came out saying I was changing my restaurants from vegan to regenerative, the internet like exploded, right? It was everywhere from Fox News to Yahoo to like the YouTube channelers and everything. And people calling me morbidly obese really hurt my feelings. Like, if I'm going to be straight, like I felt hurt. And I was like, wow, I'm just I'm coming out and saying like my truth and this hard thing to say, like, I believe this thing and now I believe something else. And everybody's just distilling it to like, you're not aging well, you're fat and you're wrinkly. And I thought, I don't want to let it bother me, but it did bother me. And I did think, if I want to speak about what I'm doing and health and wellness, I guess that I have to look a version of health and wellness. And I was not morbidly obese, like, for the record, but I need to look a version of health and wellness that people can hear, I guess. And so
absolutely. Yeah,
I decided to do the milk fast on this whole thing, like a whole deep dive about bifida and the COVID vaccine, which I did not take, but that scientist did a study of all the people's poop before and after, and there's no bifida, 0 bifida bacteria. And bifida helps you process fat, break down carbs, your immune system, all this stuff. And then she did a test, and all the milk, all the yogurt and the kefir in the grocery store that said they had it, all the probiotics, didn't have it. They were saying it was there, but it wasn't there. And so I started researching who has the most bifida, and it's kids. And now I didn't have the COVID vaccine, but I had what a lot of people were describing as the symptoms, like thin for most of your body, and then this kind of center 40-year-old, like premenopausal gut type of thing. And so that was what people were describing as the no bifida symptoms. So I was like, well, I've had plenty of conventionally grown grains. I had ground up in them in my life, or I've had antibiotics in my life. So I could rebuild my bifida. And then I learned that kids right after breastfeeding until 8 years old have the best bifida. and not because the milk has the bifida in it, but that breast milk creates the environment for the most amount of probiotics and microbiology to colonize your gut, because of course God's design is perfect, right? So that, and I said, well, I am not rich enough to buy breast milk for 40 days and 40 nights. So I'm just going to do raw cow's milk. And I did it for 18 days last year. And then I did it for 46 days this year.
Wow.
That's so exciting. I love the way you just described that. I think you're speaking about Dr. Hazen, Dr. Sabine, and she's definitely a friend. And we've been working ourselves on building the BIF.
Yes.
And we totally are on the same page as you. Although I haven't made the leap to raw milk.
Not yet. I'm working on her with that.
Yeah, I mean, so I was a part of this healing community for many years, the Hippocrates Wellness Institute, and they're reversing diabetes, cancer, and heart disease with a raw vegan diet. And so I was really like hardcore all in, and then dealt with that environment, and those people for many, many years, like 7 or 8 years, and saw some of the negative impacts of that lifestyle long term or longer term. And so I started to see dogma is dangerous. That was the conclusion I came to. And a lot of the people from that community are coming down on me because our platform isn't 100% vegan. And I'm like, no, I can't endorse that actually 100%. And yeah, I think it's interesting for us to learn a little bit more about why you made the transition and what you're realizing as a result of it, because you've been very public about it. You've really embraced it in a way, and it took a lot of courage for you to do that, at least from my perspective.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. It definitely did take some courage, maybe some stupidity too. But I started to have the awakening when I started farming. And so I'm a vegetarian. I've never eaten meat in my life. I have now at this point had some bone broth, and I've and some other things like that. I'm not, if my husband has tallow fries, I may eat one. But I'm largely, I don't eat meat. I have never eaten meat. I was raised a vegan or vegetarian because my mother at some point in my childhood figured out that she put some margarine in the oven and forgot about it with the pilot light, and it turned to a sheet of plastic. And she was like, oh, we're not going to do that. So we were vegan, except we had butter because my mom thought that margarine was poison. And so that's how I was raised. And so I 100% believe that the vegan diet can heal. I know plenty of people that have healed cancer and diabetes and all types of things with a raw vegan diet. I am not positive that for like generational health and forever, that is the best diet. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I've never met a third generation vegan. I've met third generation vegetarians and other kinds of things. But so I don't think there's one pathway to health. I've seen people also heal diabetes and cancer and other chronic conditions with doing only meat. And so the idea that there's one way to heal everything is silly, is the one thing. And all of our bodies are different, and at different times of our lives have different demands. And I could use an example, this cow that is sick. I feel a little bit responsible. They were on leased land, so we were not seeing them as often, and they were eating forage, like eating the grass. And the cows that were over there were largely beef cows. And then there was a few bred heifers. So first-time moms that were pregnant, but not being milked because they were first-time moms. And so they were over there eating the forage. And all the beef cows did totally fine on that forage, the wild forage, what was growing without any supplemental. And all of the bred heifers got lice and had some hair loss. And so the reality is that diet was perfectly suited for Black Angus or Herefords to grow body mass and to put on weight for making meat. But it was not enough of a suited forage to grow a baby and sustain the body, is what and I mean, of course, there's genetics and all that plays in it too. So I think that for us to think that everyone is going to heal on the exact same diet is silly. And why I think most people feel so much better after doing if you're doing keto, you're doing paleo, you're doing vegan, raw vegan, all of these different things, whole food, the whole it's all because you're taking out the processed foods. And ultimately, I think we don't want to get into the weeds of being didactic with each other. And I think it's about conscious eating, it's about local eating, and it's about supporting people that are doing the right thing for the land and for the animals and for the whole. And so my realization really came not for me to change my diet. I am doing a little bone broth and some stuff now that is different, but the realization was there is no vegan food. It does not exist. That to be alive is to be on the backs of death, and that every plate has death associated with it. And whether you're actually eating the nutrients coming from the dead animal or not is not really relevant. And so there is no moral high ground, and there is no like the vegan diet is better for the environment. I realized that was a psyop. It was not true. And it was basically telling us that just by eating industrial row crops, the largest part of the vegan diet is just industrialized agriculture, acres and acres of beans, acres and acres of rice, acres and acres of wheat that is combine harvested, that is killing natural ecosystems, that's killing biodiversity, and whatever animals are by chance still living in those fields, they're getting harvested into combine harvesters and chopped up into a million pieces. And then it's getting put into places and it's being guarded by mouse traps and rat traps and And I put in an avocado orchard and I probably had to kill, 5,000 plus squirrels in the first year. And I'm like, this is crazy. Avocado toast is vegan. It's not.
Wow.
That's
that needs
crazy.
to be said. That is crazy. Powerful. Nobody's talking about that except for you, Molly. I've
never heard that. I know like some really intense vegans out there,
yeah,
and they never talked about this ever.
Well, they're not going to talk about it because it doesn't support their paradigm. I had a paradigm shift. My paradigm shift was I'm on the farm and I'm believing I buy this farm and I'm going to have a sanctuary farm and I'm going to let the animals live their best life and die of old age. And it's going to be amazing. We're going to collect their poop and it's going to be this like awesome ecosystem all feeding into itself. And I rescued these ducks, and I've told the story before, but I rescue these ducks and they make more ducks because that's what ducks do. And there's ducks and they're in the orchard and they're eating the snails. And I'm so happy it's regenerative. And then I heard about these other ducks that are like taller ducks that could get the snails higher up. And so I bought some khaki Campbells and some khaki runner ducks, Indian runner ducks. And I raise them up and they're so cute. I mean, there's nothing cuter than a baby duck. And my kids are checking their butt every day so they don't get clogged, and you're wetting it with wiping it off so no poop. Because I don't know if you know, with baby ducks and baby chicks, if poop gets in their fur, their moms peck it off. But if they have no moms, their stomachs can explode. So you have to wipe their butts off every day with warm, wet cloth. And so my kids are taking care of them, and we got them on the porch. We're taking care of them, and they grow up and they're finally big enough to go in the orchard. And the very first day, my husband calls me. He's like, "You're not going to be happy about what just happened." And I'm like, "What?" And I left. I brought them over to the orchard, and it was the sprinklers were on and this big tall green grass, and they waddled into it. And I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm doing it, regenerative agriculture." And he said, "All your ducks got raped to death. I told you there's too many boys. Drakes," he said. But I thought I could just let everything that was born on my farm live. It doesn't matter. We don't have to kill the boys. We don't have to manage it all. Well, no, because nature would manage for that. Nature would manage. There wouldn't be a population of that, like that, and that there's unlimited food and that they would be chased off. There'd be a duck that would control the area. And so these ducks raped my ducks to death, and we're still mounting them when they were dead. And my husband sent me the video that someone had sent him because he was at a different restaurant than me. And I cried. And I don't know if today I would cry about ducks. I mean, right before we got on here, I told you I'm like trying to get an IV into a cow that's down. Animal husbandry is intense. And so I've had my fair share of death. But at that time I was very in the vegan mindset, like that nothing is going to die under my watch. And
nature had other plans.
And so I came home that night and I said, I don't want to know what happens and I don't want to hear about it. And I don't want anybody to ever talk about it, but I need those drakes gone. Leave one boy duck to guard over the girls. And that's it. Like I remember going to bed that night and I called my dad and I was crying and he was like, yeah, that's enough to bring a vegan to her knees. Wow. I thought nature is far more brutal than we ever are going to be. And that we actually have to step into our keystone species role. We have to step in. And I just realized that if I want animals to be treated well and I want to steward the land, that it's up to me to manage animals in a way that is supporting the land and supporting the animals. And so it's a huge shift from being someone that cried about ducks dying to I sent 3 cows to the butcher this morning and was like on the phone and I don't even eat meat, but I was like, okay, I need this much ground. I need this much stew. I need this. I need the briskets like this. That's crazy. If you had told me 3 years ago, that would be me 4 years ago, I would have told you no way in a million years.
Wow.
So you don't eat meat. This is really interesting to me, but you drink raw milk and do you eat eggs?
I don't like eggs. I wasn't raised eating eggs. I think eggs are really good nutrition. I force my kids to eat them because not force, but
Same.
I think it's good nutrition. I never developed a taste for them because I didn't eat them as a child. So I do want my kids to eat them as a child so they develop a taste for them.
What are your thoughts on like the animal-based carnivore community, especially because you don't eat meat, but you do love raw milk and you think eggs are good. So I'm very curious about that.
So I think that that's great too.
Okay.
I think that I know lots of people that healed themselves on going on and like, I don't know about like full, like these people that are like no vegetables, no fruit. I'm kind of like, you're taking it too far as I'm concerned. Like this girl the other day I was watching on Instagram, you get some things come up in your feed and she's like, I only poop once a week and it's smooth and it smells like nothing. And I was thinking, and she's eating this huge like
butter. Oh.
And I was thinking, well, I don't know if we should only poop once a week. I'm not sure about that, but I know that a lot of people on the ranch here do what's called animal based, which they do fruit and honey, eggs, milk, and meat. And they don't do any. Baba Mama's doing a podcast. Can't come in here right now. And they do that kind of diet, but they don't do like no vegetable. And I think that some people are on like the no vegetable things. I'm definitely not on the no vegetable things. We definitely have a balance at every meal here. Like we have vegetables, we have some carbohydrates, and we have meat and dairy and eggs. Like we're not on the extremes, I guess, of anywhere. But I have seen diabetes reverse like crazy. I have seen people lose hundreds of pounds by cutting out grains. And so I know that cows are fatter and sicker on grain. And so I assume that we're also fatter and sicker on a lot of grain.
100%. Yeah. When I was 320 pounds, I would eat lots of grains. So I did cut that out to lose the weight. That was something that really helped me for sure. So.
Yeah. Can you imagine she was 320 pounds, Mollie?
No, I just started following you guys on Instagram like the other night. I was sleuthing around and seeing what was going on. Because like Maha girl. Like I follow
Yeah,
the one girl, what's her name? That was,
Grace.
yeah. And she's going to come to our Food is Medicine. You guys should come to our Food is Medicine conference in September.
I love it.
I love it.
It's
Yes.
the last weekend of September. Will Harris is going to be the keynote speaker.
Yeah, I met Will on Tuesday. Spent some time with him. That's really cool. Nice.
Grace and
Excellent.
I just started Maha Girls to teach young girls how to cook and how to work out in the dorm, like just whatever, like just getting healthier because our generation is really stuck on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, when we did, we testified in Arizona against ultra processed food in the public school system there, which actually ended up getting vetoed. We just found out
On the day that food dyes get banned.
Yeah, so we're hoping that gets turned around. But regardless, someone asked us, what would I have done differently? Because, at a certain point, you control what your kids eat because they're getting everything from you. And then, I sent her off to school thinking that was a good idea. And honestly, I would not have sent her to school if I could do it over again, because it was a disaster for us on so many levels. I mean, are you homeschooling the kids, or how are the schools? How's everything going with that?
Yes, ma'am. I don't co-parent with the government.
I love
My
it.
kids are like fully indoctrinated with my views. Of my son the other day goes, I just wish the government would stop messing with the weather and stop putting chemicals on everything. And I was like, yeah, that's my 9-year-old.
I love it. That's amazing.
I actually went to your mom's farm in Maui, and I took Penelope there.
Oh,
Yeah, and she was like, "Mom, where are we?"
look, I was 320 pounds at that time.
You locked yourself
and
in the
I
car.
was addicted to my phone. And
Yeah.
as you know, there's no.
My mother would not let you have the phone on the phone.
No, she did
It
not.
was an amazing place. And so when you talk about like how your kids have your beliefs, it must be really interesting for your parents just to witness you and your brother and how things are taking shape.
Yeah.
And I also think, I mean, as far as like weight gain and with kids, and I have 4 kids and 3 of them are really skinny and 1 is more chubby. And they're all eating pretty much the same food. One of them's a vegetarian. That's not the chubby one. If someone's going to be like, I bet the chubby one's the vegetarian. No, but they're all literally eating the same food. They're all equally active. And so there is also just innate like things in all of us. And me and my husband both have the tendency that we could be chubby pretty easily. Apparently later in life, early in life, I could eat whatever I wanted and I never got chubby. But so I think that I have conversations with that one child, and he'll say, can I have, some kind of bread and whatever? And I'll say, yes. And I want you to know that the more bread you eat, and he's like, but it's sourdough and it's good for me. And I said, yes, but you can't just eat sourdough bread all the time and then it's going to be good for you. And so he's starting to just learn, and he'll say, Mom, I had 4 tortillas from the farm with beef from the farm, and I had raw milk. And I'm like, great. And he's like, and I'm not eating sugar today or tomorrow. And that's him. Like he's saying that. He's like, on the weekend, I'm going to let myself have a brownie or whatever. So he's kind of, I'm trying to educate him in a way that my mom educated me in a way that was not that nice. Like, park far away because you need the exercise. And I'm like, Mom, stop it. So I don't want to have any shame, but I do want him to know that there's an impact. And he doesn't feel any badness about being a little chubby. He actually told me the other day, he's like, I'm a little worried with all these beef tacos that I'm eating, so much protein. I can stay in the pod longer than anyone else because I have a little layer of insulation. Do you think if I keep eating too many beef tacos, I'm going to have to get out when the other kids get out? I was like, no.
That's adorable.
I said, I think you'll build up a tolerance to be in the cold. So I just want him to know and have the resources, but I also don't want to, but we don't have, like, the worst thing they're going to be eating is organic pancakes with maple syrup. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Penelope loved bread. And I remember I used to make little charts. She asked, what's for dinner?
But like, I relate to you, Molly, because not that you were mean, but you kind of weren't like, I wasn't checking in with you like, oh, I'm going to have my sweet treat on the weekend. It was like, no, you get one treat this week. It went from once a day to once a week to once every 2 weeks to once every month. But then I also started gaining the weight slowly. But what's interesting is that you didn't really give it to me at home. I got it at school.
Yeah.
So that's why I became so obese, like way later down the road. And I was just chubby my whole life because I was just sneaking it behind your back.
Well, and I think that kids that aren't on your farm, Molly, you're raising your kids in what sounds like an utopic environment. And kids, Penelope was starving. She would eat like she would eat a ton of food, like enough food for 4 people, and then she was still hungry. And so your kids are at least getting that cellular satisfaction at a deep, deep level. And you've been a part of the organic movement. You have a regenerative farm. And I'm just curious about whether or not you think organic is a scam. A lot of people push back on that, like sourcing food organically, because they think it's just a sales tactic. What do you think about that?
I have a lot. I think a lot about organic. So I was a certified organic farmer. Like I had those certifications, so I know what it is to get the certifications on the one side. So I'd like to say that. I've seen all the stuff that people have posted about Costco and Whole Foods getting all this stuff from China that's certified organic. I'm going to say that Mexico, China, like I don't think we can trust any of their certifications. India, like I don't think there's any way that we can trust those certifications. So if it's a product of blah, 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 I don't think we can trust it. If it's a product of the USA, there to some degree, there's definitely less chemicals. Now, is there ways to cheat the system? Yes. But it's like Penelope sneaking that stuff at school. Like maybe she could have snuck that stuff at school, but if it was just stocked in your pantry all day, every day, that would be a different thing. So yes, is there probably instances where farmers are up against some pest or something and they spray something and don't tell anybody because they need to get it to market? I would say that yes, that happens. I never did that, but I would say it does happen. But I'm going to say it's better than just they're guaranteed sprayed the whole time, and sprayed before, and sprayed the ground, and sprayed afterward. But I would say that regenerative agriculture is the next level, and it's still a degenerative system. It's still an extractive system where we're tilling, we're plowing, we're destroying habitats, and we're dumping chemicals, whether they're organic compounds or synthetic compounds, we're dumping chemicals on the ground. And so, no, it is not a scam. Yes, it is more healthy. And it is just like the baseline of what we should be doing, like the very, very, very baseline.
What are moms supposed to do? I mean, there's a lot of moms who listen to our podcast and who interact with us, and they feel like they even if they buy organic, it's not nutrient dense, and they just actually feel really hopeless and helpless around this topic, and they don't want their children to feel starved at a cellular level, and they themselves are not in a position where they can homeschool because they're working and they don't have the skill set to farm. And so, what advice would you have for moms? What are they supposed to do?
Shake the hand that feeds you. Find someone locally that you can trust. And if we want nutrient dense food, then this is going to sound harsh, and I'm not trying to sound harsh, but we need to support the farmers that are growing nutrient dense food. I can't be out here doing 100 podcasts in the last 9 months, begging people to go to my website and buy meat or buy whatever, and then not being able to pay my mortgage, and then people want nutrient dense food. We have to. And now, is every mom going to be able to do that? No, but there is plenty of moms that can afford it that are not doing it. And we are voting every day with our dollars. And if we want nutrient dense food in our communities, we have to pay for nutrient dense food in our communities. So we need to be looking at, if I'm spending $500 a month on groceries, let's say, how can I spend 20% of that in my local community? Can I spend 20%? Can I go drive to a farm and get raw milk? Can I get eggs locally? Can I get, like, how much can I keep that money, A, in my economy, and then B, it's going to be more nutrient dense food. And there's a coherency level to local food. The sun and the wind and the air and everything, the biology in the air is informing that food that is then informing your body. And when we're eating 100% of our food from thousands of miles away, we're actually creating incoherency in our body because it's informing our bodies based on what's happening in Australia and Mexico and Canada. And we need to be informed, at least to some degree, by food that's from our environment.
Yes. And so for those people who are listening, frequently in the United States of America, I would say more often than not, bananas, for example, are not usually grown locally.
Never.
Berries, never, unless you're in Florida and you have a banana tree, or some, and then there's also berries. Berries are another one that we tend to buy year round that are frequently from Mexico. Squash out of season is almost always grown in Mexico. Molly, you might have like 10 more things you want to add to this list. Peppers are almost never grown in the US. They're hothouse, but I mean, they're grown only in the season, in the summer. Also tomatoes. So I mean, so like, yes, we might have some other things you want to add to this list.
Well, I would say that if you go, eat seasonally, and there's plenty of lists of how to eat seasonally. And yes, eggplants and tomatoes and bell peppers only grow in the summertime. So it's the middle of the wintertime. But this goes for, if you're eating grapes, grapes are only harvested in the fall. So if you're eating grapes right now, they are however many months old, 6, 7, 8, 9 months old. The grape harvest is going to start in September, October. So how old are the grapes that are at the grocery store right now? They've been held in some kind of gas that doesn't let them start decomposing. Apples too. Apples are only ripe one time of year. Peaches only ripe one time a year.
How do they keep it fresh so long?
Gas in containers, refrigerated containers with gas. It's a special kind of argon, or I think it's argon. I don't know what it is. It's a special kind of gas that doesn't let it decompose.
There's really no fruit right now that is ripe. I think March, April, May.
I wanted to ask you this earlier.
Oranges, Valencia oranges, navel. We're at the end of navel orange season, beginning of Valencia orange season. Passion fruit.
Strawberries. We're getting a lot of strawberries where we live.
Yeah, probably. We're not in strawberry season yet here. We're about to hit blackberry season. Blueberries are starting to come up. But back to this other thing, I just want to reframe this other thing too, is there's a lot of conversation about this kind of food is a privilege. I get it a lot, like you and your white privilege, and you could have this ranch and have this food as a privilege. Yeah, it is. And it's also really hard work. And like me and my husband work 12 to 15 hours a day, every single day. And we are putting our everything into this. But there's another privilege at play that is not being portrayed as a privilege. And that is, if you are eating cheap food that someone else is getting sick, touching, harvesting, spraying, for you to have that cheap food, and it is desecrating the soil, the farmer's health, the farm hand's health, in order for you to have cheap food, that is also a privilege. In what world can we be like, I want this cheap food, and who cares if that guy's going to die while he's taking care of it? So that is a privilege. I talk about Cynthia, my housekeeper in California. She was on a crew of 5 women. They all had a miscarriage, and 5 women worked in strawberry fields. They all had a miscarriage. They all had cancer before 40 years old, and all had a miscarriage before 35. Tell me that's a coincidence that these 5 women that were epic at picking strawberries as fast as they can, touching fungicide all day long, didn't have a completely destroyed microbiome because of the fungicide.
That is so tragic. And I'm so glad you made that point. It's really, really important for moms to hear that. I mean, Molly, we're on the front lines helping women to reverse obesity. And we are shocked about how disconnected people are from their grocery stores, let alone their farms, let alone their kitchens, let alone their bodies and their health. I mean, we are in a real crisis right now. And I know that you know that. And I know that some women, go ahead.
Oh, no. I mean, I moved from LA where people are really food aware, I would say, like really awake around food, to Bandera, Texas. And I had culture shock, literal culture shock. I did not know that grownups drank big gulps. I mean, or large soda. Like, I had no idea. I thought like teenagers drink big sodas that they get at the 7-Eleven. But I had literally never seen a grown up drink a big gulp. It's like a totally normal thing to see 50, 60, 40-year-old women with a huge cup of soda. I was like, I didn't have any idea. People walk out of my restaurant here because we don't have soda. They're like, not even Dr. Pepper. This is Texas. And I'm like, yeah, no, we don't serve soda. I don't serve anything that's going to kill you. Soda is not going to kill you. So it's crazy, but people are literally waking up. And I believe it's the Maha thing. It's all the people coming into consciousness. It's RFK joining Trump. So a whole new sector of our people are waking up. I had a woman in tears. Like, I knew I had diabetes. And of course the doctor said, don't eat sugar, but it was literally like, still eat, can't remember how many grams of carbohydrates a day. And she learned through RFK, through research, whatever, about doing a carnivore or keto diet. And she had already lost like 40 pounds. She wasn't taking insulin. She still had some other medication that wasn't insulin, but she was on her way to be off medicine. And she was so happy that she found our restaurant. We're not using seed oils, but she literally was shocked. She felt like, I would go to the doctor and people said, don't, eat low sugar, no sugar, whatever. But she didn't really understand that she could reverse her diabetes. They said it's hereditary. It's this, it's that. And she was moved to tears sitting in my restaurant. Like, I'm just so happy you're here. I can't believe of all the places that you came to start your restaurant, you started it here. And I just learned about this.
Wow. Okay, so you guys were talking about gassing fruit earlier, and I have to go back to that because I saw these appealed stickers. Have you seen those,
Yeah.
Molly? Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and like how you can look for that?
There's organic peel and appeal, but the problem is that they got such a bad rap that now people there's not everything is having stickers. So there's a list of retailers and that tell you if they get fruit with a peel on it or not. So I know that Costco was a hard no on appeal, but I heard that they changed like CEOs or somebody, and now that might not be true anymore. So we have to look that up. But it's a little thing that says appeal, but appeal is some kind of proprietary blend, and we don't even really know what it is, and it's getting sprayed on our food. And Bill Gates is a big investor in it. So I'm pretty much just like, no. And the other thing is anything that's making our food not biodegrade and turn back into rot like it's supposed to, I'm concerned is also impacting the inside of us. Like, it's killing the natural pathogens that are in the world that are going to make an avocado break down and turn into dust. Well, now we're taking that into our body, and what natural pathogens that exist inside of us are we killing off?
Yeah.
We're eating of a sterile system, and we are becoming sterile. How many of us know women that cannot get pregnant, that cannot have children?
Dozens. Yeah, so many. Yeah, no, it's true. And I think glyphosate was a really great teacher for that, like the implosion and the IBS that was a result in the gut microbiome and the gut lining. So I think anytime you interrupt a cycle of nature, you're going to find a problem. That's what I've learned over the last 30 plus years as being a food advocate and a devotee of the food is healing study. And that's just where I've been. And again, and Cafe Gratitude, your parents' work really influenced my food journey. As I've gone through this process, as did Gabriel Cousins and Ann Wigmore, but also so did Sally Fallon, the Weston A. Price Foundation.
Yes.
And so I have a lot of these different influences, and sometimes I do get concerned about these extremes, like that you referenced earlier in this conversation. And with moms that aren't, because you're also a chef, Molly. I don't know if Molly's a chef. She's an amazing chef, and I think a lot of moms think that it's hard and takes time and it's anti-feminist. And what message do you have for moms who want their families to be healthier, but who have some resistance in finding ways to make the healthy food taste great?
Well, feminism is a scam, so don't fall into that trap. No, I do believe that 100%. I was 100% in the feminism psyop, and I almost missed my opportunity to have children. I was working, crushing it, 5 restaurants. I don't think I had 5 at the time. I had less, but I'm just crushing it, and no husband in sight, no possibility of a husband in sight. And I very much could have ended up like so many of my friends that are now with careers and no partnership and no children. And So I want to say, don't fall into the trap of feminism. And then I would say that everything takes sacrifice. Like, I've been breastfeeding for 10 years straight. Do I want to? No. Was I super irritated at 4 o'clock in the morning when my 2-year-old, who I believe should be done breastfeeding because I'm done, was pinching me and breastfeeding? But that is the sacrifice. That is the role. That is the unchosen roles of womanhood that are our responsibility. And so honestly, we just have to do it. And that sounds, I'm not trying to be harsh, but like, there's nothing more important than setting your children on the right path. So I don't believe in elective C-sections because we know that the microbiology, you need to pass through the vagina, lift the anus on the way out and get your mother's microbiology that way. I don't believe in formula because we need breast milk obviously if someone adopts a baby or there's circumstances. But in general, we as a culture are saying it's okay to women to do the easier thing. And I'm sorry, it's just not. It's not okay. It's not okay to feed formula because you don't feel like breastfeeding anymore. It is not okay to have a C-section because you want to know exactly when your baby's going to come out. It is not okay. And so these are the things that set our children's life in the proper direction for the rest of their life. And so I would say, woman up and do what needs to be done to create a powerful, nutrient-dense diet for your children and to create the microbiome that will support them for the rest of their life.
Yes. Wow.
Sorry, that
it's a huge responsibility to have a kid. Don't apologize. It's the truth.
I'm not in the like coddling people's feelings part of my life.
Me neither. No, me neither.
Well, and that's what leads to, you know, one of the things I was so confused about is Penelope was like, I'm beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, you're beautiful, but you need to lose weight. And, you know, she was completely influenced by the body positivity movement.
So TikTok and social media, it like really told me it was okay to be obese, that it was beautiful to be obese, that it was healthy to be obese. My doctors, my therapist at the time, they were like, yeah, you're beautiful. Like there's no food is bad food, Penelope. All food is good.
And mom, don't talk about it. For heaven's sakes.
Yeah, they tried to give me antidepressants. They tried to give me anti-anxiety medication. They tried to give me bread. They said I needed to eat more bread and that was going to be the thing. And that I could eat candy, I could eat cereal, I could eat anything I wanted because I was beautiful. But I couldn't go up the steps. I missed 178 days of school. I was having panic attacks. I couldn't get out of bed. I was depressed. I was stuck on my phone. I was suicidal. And they told me it was completely fine. They like had no issue with it. They had no issue booking more therapy appointments and, you know, putting me in 3 group therapies a week. Like they had no problem with that. Or the fact that I was like self-harming, but they were like, it's fine. You know, you're fine. It's fine. We're just going to keep putting you in more therapy. That was their solution.
Well, Molly, are you aware of this body positivity thing? I mean, is that?
Well, my question to you, Molly, is have you seen it? And what do you think body positivity is a good thing? Like the kind I'm explaining right now.
No. Okay. So I think that the body positivity movement has gone like too far to the extreme. Now, do I think that people calling me morbidly obese after having 4 children in my 40s when I was, probably 30 pounds overweight is reasonable? No. But was I overweight? Yes. So was there for me to be like, how dare they call me fat? It was just like, I literally, my thought was, wow, they've already lost the argument about veganism because all they can do, they can't argue with me on the facts about farming, about veganism. So they're going to attack how I look and how I am. And so they want to hurt my feelings. And so my thing is that body positivity only is applied to Democrats that are doing the right thing. As if you're a Republican, if you are doing the wrong thing, like they can call you fat and ugly and whatever, old and wrinkly and whatever. That body positivity thing is literally only like a Democrat thing for people that are spreading the correct message, is my thought about body positivity. It's literally just that. And then I feel like being unhealthy, there's facts in this world. I was born a woman. I could dress like a man. I could act like a man, but I was born a woman. That's a fact. Just that's like the truth. I can breastfeed. I can bear children because I was born as a woman. Those are facts. This is not, I'm not hurting someone's feelings. I'm not offending someone. If you are 350 pounds and you can't get up the stairs, you are not healthy and your quality of life is suffering hugely. And anybody that's telling you you're beautiful, yes, you should be told that you're beautiful inside and out. And I want you to live a long and healthy life. And this is not the way to do it. You're killing yourself. You're literally eating yourself to death. People have fatty liver disease. Children have fatty liver disease. Now, am I going to tell my 9-year-old who's probably 10 pounds overweight, like, yo, you got to go on a milk fast with mommy? No. I also know that my cousins, all the boys before puberty were chubby and then they like sprung up. It was like they stored up weight and then sprung up. But I wouldn't let him I'm also not going to let him eat a brownie every single day. I'm not going to let him have a naan bread. I mean, he just wants, I make sourdough naan bread, but he would eat a naan bread every single day, like a whole, no, I'm sorry. That's a treat. Yes, you could have some hummus and naan bread, but it's not an everyday thing. And even when I'm feeling really bad, I realize like hummus and naan bread is organic sourdough naan bread is probably like not other people's version of the bad thing that their kid is eating, right? But I think that we have to be mindful as parents, and the body positivity. Yes, we want to be positive. We want to have our children have high self-esteem, but it's the same thing with his posture. I have really bad posture and it bothers me as an adult. And I wish that I had trained myself better as a child in my posture, because it's harder to change it right now. So I tell him about his posture and he's getting onto it. And the other day he goes, I feel like my muscles on my chest look bigger when I have good posture. And I was like, yeah, I noticed that too. I noticed that really good. And so I think we do want to be positive with our children. Adults that are just like 400 pounds and on the cover of Sports Illustrated as athlete of the year. I'm literally like, I don't understand.
Miss Alabama was like 400 pounds. I didn't understand that.
Well, I think it's a representative of a larger societal context. And you had talked about it just before we started the body positivity conversation, which seeded it, because I see that parenting, this permissive parenting culture is creating a lot of delusion. And body positivity is just another example of that. And I love the perspective that you gave, Mollie, around, this democratic, dialogue, but it's really dangerous. And I had no idea how much you were going to be influenced by it. I mean, do your kids have phones?
Phones.
Yeah, phones.
Oh, no, we don't do any tablets, any phones, and they're not allowed to look at other people's tablets or phones without mom's permission. And so, no, I don't know that I'll get them all the way to 18 without phones, but we're 10, 8, 5, and 2, and nobody has any phones or tablets yet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You're a great example.
Well, 4 body positive influencers died last year, and nobody's talking about that. Nobody in the community is talking about that. People in the body positivity refuse to believe that it was because of their health, even though they died from things like heart disease. They're just not talking about it, which I think is really strange. And I have a problem with it. So I'm like, I have to talk about it because nobody else is talking about it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's like somebody who drinks that drinks too much, and then they're trying to tell you, red wine is good for you or whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe, sure, okay, red wine is good for you. It is good to love yourself on the inside. And like I said, when I was heavier, I loved myself. I wasn't down on myself. I'm really secure in what I've accomplished, who I am, my husband, my marriage, my children, my business. I was not down on myself because I had gained weight. I had Mollie positivity, but that doesn't mean I didn't desire to also get back into the size clothes I wore prior to having 4 kids back to back.
Yeah. Exactly. I always say real body positivity is moving your body and being healthy and promoting health. And body positivity actually only originated for the purpose of people who were born without limbs or, you know, have like a skin issue that they like were born with patchy skin color or things like that. But it wasn't so that we could all be fat and glutton filled humans who just sat on the couch all day and took selfies. Like, I don't know why we decided that was like cute and pretty, but apparently now we can be fat and on the front cover of Vogue. So we got to stop that. Yeah.
We have to stop
And
glorifying gluttony.
but when we glorify it, we're telling our children that it is okay. And by doing that, we are just going to create generation after generation of children that are not capable of like functioning in the real world. And I am an employer. I've been an employer for the last, I don't know, since 2013 or something. I had 350 employees before my restaurants closed. Post pandemic, the employable humans in the world are hyper sensitive. And we have raised a generation, and this is not just related to body positivity, but we have raised a generation that believes if you feel uncomfortable, if someone is saying something that makes you uncomfortable, that is danger or that is bad. Like, where did that come from? Human beings have been uncomfortable for the past thousands of years, building shelter, growing their own food, sweating in the sun, migrating across wherever. Like, where did we get the idea that if you feel uncomfortable, something is wrong? Maybe it is uncomfortable to be a human being. Like, that is just the context in which being a human being is. And when my kids are bored, they say, "I'm bored, Mom." I say, "Great, I'm glad you're bored." Why are
That's
you
what
glad?
my mom would say to me.
I'm glad you're bored, because then you'll imagine stuff. You'll think about stuff that you're practicing being uncomfortable. You're not happy. You're not happy right now. So you're practicing being in a situation that you don't like. You can't believe how we got people believing that they would say, "I can't take this table. You need to go take it." And I'd say, "Oh my God, did he sexually harass you? What happened?" "Oh no, I messed up their order and now they have bad faces." What? Go apologize. Go get them a dessert. What do you mean? You messed up their order and now they're making you uncomfortable because they have bad faces? Yeah, no. And then quitting because I didn't have their back. And that is the generation of people we are raising to believe that if you are uncomfortable, you made a mistake, or in that case, she made a mistake. So she will learn to not make a mistake because she doesn't like how it feels, or she'll get really great at apologizing and getting the customer back to joy. And so
Completely, yeah.
Well, and you go to this kid thing. I have to bring this up because I was in school with this girl, and I remember she was morbidly obese, and she had these purple stretch marks on her stomach, and we were only like 12 at the time. And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna get weight loss surgery when I turn 18, like my mom." And I was like, "What?" Like that's her answer. And I had promised myself at the time that I was never going to let myself get stretch marks on my stomach and become morbidly obese like her. And I end up in the same position at, 15, like 3 years later, and she's still on the same route, but she's only getting heavier. And so instead of being uncomfortable, right, and maybe whatever the way you want to lose weight, whether it's calorie deficit or maybe it's working out or both or all the things that are amazing for weight loss, she's just convinced that weight loss surgery is the only way. And today it's like Ozempic is the only way. And so instead of us getting uncomfortable and facing that, "Oh, I'm really hungry right now and I'm not going to go eat that," or, "Oh, I'm at a party and everyone's eating cake, I'm not going to have that cake," we decided that we could just be complacent and have one bite of cake and take Ozempic, and that's the answer. Or that weight loss surgery should be the solution instead of working out. And that's
No one ever grew who didn't get uncomfortable. I mean, just growing a muscle in your body is uncomfortable when you're standing up straighter and your spine and chest is becoming stronger to hold your spine up straighter. I mean, that's uncomfortable to build muscle. And resilience is like the number one factor to longevity and to productive society and so on and so forth. So it's absolutely necessary, which actually leads to a question that I have. I mean, I think a lot of women listening are thinking that, Mollie Englehart is a superhero. Because you are a mom, you're homeschooling, you have this farm, you're, helping your animals, you're, a wife, you have restaurant, it's a lot. So how do you manage it all?
I mean, some days I can't. Like I jokingly said, like, I don't have to tell you what my husband and I were arguing about last night, but it's hard. Sometimes we don't feel like we have any time, and sometimes he doesn't feel appreciated, or I don't feel appreciated or seen, because there's so much. Our life is so full. But community is the only way you can do it. We are no man as an island, and you can't do all the stuff that needs to be done yourself. And so you have to be willing to share your community, and you have to accept help. And that is hard to do. And it's hard for us to ask for help. It's hard for us to share our spaces. We've gotten to a cultural place where we all want our own house and our own yard and our own pool and our own apartment and our own. But honestly, if we want to build a different society that's outside of the constructs of what we're doing right now, it's going to take many of us. Many hands make light work, and we're going to have to do it together. So I would say that I have an extraordinary community, and that is the only way that I can do it.
And you've built that community, and you built it here in Los Angeles. You're building it there in Bandera. And could you tell our audience a little bit more about how they can come to your ranch? I'm going to call it a ranch. I hope that's okay. You know, your restaurant, like get involved, order the meat. Like I want to hear all the things, like how people can get connected to your community and involved.
Yeah, so I have Sovereignty Ranch in Bandera, Texas. It is an awesome place. We have 40 beds of hospitality. This is rental unit that you could rent right here. And we have 40 beds of hospitality. We have a workshop space. We have a yurt. We have a room that can hold 300 people for corporate retreats, events. And we're almost finished building this amazing stage venue, outdoor venue on the field. And so this is just an epic place to do everything from a family reunion to a wedding to just coming with your family for the weekend and eating. And we have the barn restaurant, no seed oils, all organic. If we didn't grow it, we buy organic. We grow it beyond organic standards. No seed oils, no food coloring, and no preservatives in the whole restaurant. And you can go to sovereigntyranch.com and you can buy everything from my tallow cream if you want your face to look so nice like mine at 47. Or you can buy vinegar that I make, or you can buy a steak, or if you're a vegan, you can get things that can support your diet. And if you're a meat eater, you can get lamb, pork, beef, or goat. And so we have all of those things. And if you live locally, you can join our herd share and get raw dairy from us as well.
Amazing. And we were part of your CSA when you were here in Los Angeles. So, I mean, I can vouch for her.
We have a
culinary
CSA
prowess.
here too.
Amazing. Yeah. So I can really vouch for how the quality of everything I ever had in any of your restaurants or any of the produce was always top notch. And so it's just such an honor for the people in your community now to be a part of your community and to have the opportunity to come and interface with you. And then you have events. There's a couple of events coming up. There's a big one in May, I believe.
Yes. Confluence, me and Alex Zach and our friends Mike and Lindsay are doing this. This is the third annual Confluence Festival, and we have amazing speakers from Ian Carroll to Dr. Andy Kaufman to Veda Austin, the water scientist, to Mollie Englehart. You might have heard of her. No, just kidding. All different. My parents, Matthew and Tirsi Englehart, are doing a workshop. There's so many different people. And that is May 7th through the 14th. There's only about 30 something tickets left. So if people are interested, they should definitely get that. And then in September, the last weekend in September, we're doing an awesome Food is Medicine retreat with lots of Maha people. Courtney Swan is coming. Will Harris is coming. A bunch of really exciting different influencers. And then also we're having Misha Tate, who's a MMA fighter who realized her recovery was happening so much better when she had nutrient dense food. We have Logan from Me and McPhee Market and Sovereignty Sowing Prosperity podcast, whose son he healed with nutrient dense local food from stage 4 cancer. I mean, so many different amazing stories. Brian from Food Lies is going to play his movie. We're having the Roots So Deep documentary as well. Lots of exciting people coming. So please come out. And that's going to be the launch of my book as well. So everybody that buys a ticket, I think we're going to work it out that they're getting a free Debunked by Nature book in their ticket price.
That is so
Wow,
exciting.
amazing.
Wow.
And I
love
just told
that.
these ladies they have to come, and they've already agreed. So if they try to change their mind, I'm coming back to you, audience, to force them out there. No, just kidding. These lovely ladies are coming out as well.
So excited. Yeah, food as medicine has been a big focus of mine. My mother was morbidly obese, so I grew up in an eating disordered household, really witnessing firsthand the impact of losing and gaining hundreds of pounds in the diet culture and all the agony that came with that, and the freedom. And so it was just throughout my life that I just saw these healing She lost her vision when I was an adolescent, and then she regained it through a macrobiotic diet. And that was one of my first instances of understanding food as medicine. And then I just thought it was my focus. She unfortunately died right when Penelope was born, which was really shocking and challenging for me. And so now, you didn't have a grandmother on either side, actually. And so there's just nothing more valuable than health. And unfortunately, our medical system currently doesn't value that. So very hopeful that your collaborations and our collaborations will just keep spreading the word that you can trust nature, your body will heal itself, because we have so many friends and people we know that are on Ozempic, that are taking this dangerous weight loss medication, when there are black box warnings that it causes thyroid cancer, and that it causes a lot of other issues, gut motility issues, permanent dysbiosis in the gut, and so on and so forth. And yet it's just really scary to see what's happening. And fertility, we don't even know about fertility yet. So what are your thoughts on Ozempic?
We do know that it's bad for fertility. My thoughts on Ozempic is that I think it's like paralyzing the gut and killing so many of the microbiology in order so you don't uptake the nutrients. And so I just think it's the worst. Like, my whole life mission is to get people to reconnect with the soil and reconnect with that microbiology that nature, God, universal intelligence has connected us profoundly to have creation in our gut. And that's why we say, trust your gut, listen to your gut, go with your gut instincts. That all comes from, I think it's an expression of God in us, and it's 70% compatible DNA with our soil. And so anything that disrupts the gut microbiome is not okay. I don't think that we should. I think that I want to have everybody reconnect with soil. Soil releases the same compounds in our brain that other antidepressants and stuff does, because we are meant to be connected to soil. We are meant to have our hands in soil. And this is scientifically proven. So rather than disconnecting more, sterilizing ourselves more, I want to tell us to get dirty and step into our role as the keystone species on the planet. And whether you're a science-minded person, there's tons of evidence for why soil and your body are connected and need to stay connected. And if you are a God-loving or God-fearing, I don't know why everybody says God-fearing, I'd rather God-loving, but a God-loving person, in the first part of the Bible, our first command is to tend to the garden. And so I really think that on all levels, it's what we're meant to be doing. And so anytime that we're choosing pharma over farm is not the answer. So I just always want to choose farm and not pharma.
Yeah, we're starting a little farm here. We have lemon trees and established lemon trees, established avocado growth, and we're working on other things as well. So I feel like a novice. I've been at it for a few years, but I still have so much to learn, and I'm just constantly blown away by the power of nature. And I just don't even have words for it. It's just so profound, and it's so exciting, and it's so different when you're growing things yourself at the experience, especially for your children. We did microgreens, but
I think it's really amazing that you were not a mom and you didn't know if you'd ever be a mom. And then you have now 4 kids and you're on a farm doing all this amazing work for our world. I feel so grateful to have you on this planet. And I wanted to know, what was one thing you think that a mom out there listening could do for their family to improve everyone's life and health?
Get your kids dirty.
Okay. I love that.
no sanitizer. Do not use sanitizer. Do not wipe their nose on the sleeve of your shirt. Like, let them be dirty. That we have to be, our bodies need to be able to function in this world. And this idea that we need to keep everything sterile is making us less resilient. So let your kids be dirty. Go to natural places. Let them breathe. Let them put twigs in their mouth. Chew on grass stem. Be connected to the whole that is this earth.
Wow.
So beautiful. Beautiful. Any last pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave our listeners with before we wrap for today?
You are so powerful. The consumer is in charge of everything in our world, whether you know it or not. And every moment you're deciding what kind of world that you want. And so do you want a convenient Amazon world where everything shows up at your house so easy, but it is empty of calories, it is empty of value? Or do you want nutrient dense, high quality things? Those are going to take more effort. So you will have to trade your convenience, your scrolling time, your whatever time for the resilience of all of us. And I'm asking you to be someone who's committed to resilience and not convenience.
So powerful. Mollie, thank you. We are so grateful to know you and to be connected to you. And we will definitely coming to the farm.
Yeah.
You're coming to the farm with me?
Yeah.
Okay, you promise?
September.
Maha girls. We're gonna bring the Maha girls to the farm.
Yeah.
Because Grace is coming, right? She's going to do a workshop on how to.
I don't know, but I think we should. Me, Grace, and Lexi Noel. I think you might know Lexi Noel as well. I think her, and Lexi should come and do something with you guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's do something sooner. But I'm saying in September she was going to come to the Food is Medicine workshop and retreat and do a workshop about how to get involved in government, how to change, like what are steps that regular people can, because we're billing the Food is Medicine thing. The idea is really be with the people that want to be the change makers or are the change makers in our food system. Because we've all heard these stories of you guys on Instagram or me on podcast or whatever, but what draws us to come together? And it's really like, how can we come together to fortify ourselves as the change makers in the food system? And and by being together, more connections get made. And so that's what we want to say to the public that's interested in coming to this is like, are you someone that wants to be or is a change maker in the food system? Well, come gather with other change makers in the food system.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we love to teach people how to cook whole. Like, for example, when I lost 160 pounds, I did it by making my Burger King order at home. And so we love to teach people how to make whole foods delicious again and amazing tasting, because it doesn't have to be gross. And I know you know all about that already.
Yeah, I was on
I just don't know why people think healthy food shouldn't have seasoning. Could someone explain this to me?
I know.
So confusing.
I think
so
that was
weird.
I think they did. I think America did that and the government did that to make us think that it was gross, that we ate their chemical laden foods, that we would get so addicted to it, that we'd think that these foods that make us beautiful and healthy and fertile and vibrant, like maybe they were just trying to kill us all along.
I don't know.
I feel like they were, but seasonings are a real thing. And if you season vegetables, they're even better.
So good. We teach them. We have a cooking course in our course.
So I think we could come together at the Food is Medicine event and maybe teach everyone how to cook something in 5 minutes or something really awesome like that. Because that's
how to make pizza whole food.
That's what we do for the women we help lose weight every day. And my generation doesn't know how to cook because they were never taught in school. It's sexist to teach women how to cook in school. We don't know at school.
Are you
we don't
serious?
Learn how to cook.
That's the truth.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like if we can gather in community and teach, maybe do like a little 5-minute cooking class or something, I think that would be really beneficial and fun.
You know what? I wrote a book and I've already sent it in to the publisher and like it's being edited, but it's called Debunked by Nature. And it's how I took all of these concepts and brought them to the farm that were in woke society, and then how they were debunked by the farm. Like, it's just not possible. It doesn't exist. It's just like a crazy idea that sounds like it makes sense out there, but as soon as you have it in reality. But I didn't address obesity and body positivity, but I think that I should, because literally in nature, obesity doesn't exist. If you're eating the diet that you're meant to be eating of your place and yours in the world, and we only make pigs obese or whatever by feeding them corn and soy and grain and things they never were meant to eat. So I think that's an interesting thing, because that is that is right in my book. Like, how could this body positivity, it's okay to be obese, is literally just justifying that we are no longer eating the foods that we're meant to eat. And again, we've disconnected ourselves, and nature would show us something different. No matter how much forage is out there, you don't see an obese cow that's living on grass, even though they have acres and acres and acres and acres of grass. I never see obese deer like just out
Exactly.
there.
You never see obese baby animals. Baby pigs don't come out obese, baby lambs don't come out obese, baby fish don't come out obese. Like, there's just no excuse, like, in nature at all, ever.
Yeah, I really would implore you to consider doing that. Obesity is such a huge topic. Pun, I didn't actually intend that, but fits. But the obesity epidemic is so huge. People don't want to talk about it. I mean, moms that I know have not gotten out of it, and their kids are still morbidly obese.
I don't hear people talk about it. I hear people talk about all these diseases and things, but I really don't hear much
no one
talk
wants
about
to deal with it.
obesity.
Yeah, it's like, but genetically modified food, glyphosate, all these nutrient void foods, ultra processed food, like, this to me is the cause. And then because I study nutritional psychology, we understand the gut brain axis so well now, because there's plenty of research to support it. And so it's hijacking the gut microbiome, and therefore also the brain, which is then leading to anxiety and depression, and suicidal ideations and all these things that are coming along, coupled with
We weren't
obesity.
taught that in school. So when I was depressed and anxious, no one was like, "Oh, hey, it's because of the food you're eating."
Well, what I witnessed with you, Penelope, is you completely disappeared. You were a shell of yourself.
But that's the thing. I'm not the only one. And
No.
why nobody's hearing about this, why no one's talking about it, is because all those kids are hiding in their room on their phones eating crap, and nobody knows about it because
Right.
they're all hiding.
Yeah, but I think
They're not going to come out because they don't know they need to.
Yeah, and obesity debunked by nature, to me is a natural fit. Whether you want to go with the chemicals, herbicides, fungicides, genetically modified food organisms, and or food-shaped objects that are now creating human-shaped objects that are similar to Jabba the Hutt, which ages me, but like, these are not, it's not normal. And when I go to the airport now, or I go to the beach, or I go anywhere outside of my little bubble, I am mortified. I'm like, what is going on here? These people need help, and they need it now.
My husband comes from an indigenous village where they didn't have any outside food until not that long ago, because they didn't get a road till the outside village until I think 91. So the year that my husband was born. And you want to know something crazy? I was just there for a funeral, and the women are still only wear dresses because they didn't drink the feminist Kool-Aid, but everybody only wears dresses there. And what I was noticing is that every single woman has those purple spots like on her ankles, like that are a sign of diabetes. You know what I'm talking about? Those purple.
I do.
And I was looking at the funeral, and I was just sitting there thinking, so in 90 to 2000, we're talking about 40 years, right? Not even 40 years. We've gone from a village where there was nobody that was obese to I'm looking around the funeral, and every adult woman over the age of 40 is showing signs of fatty liver disease or diabetes.
It's a huge burden for them, their families, and society. I mean, in terms of productivity, it just costs a fortune to manage all of the diseases that come from obesity. It's a huge problem.
And it's crazy. And you go to the little stores there, and there's no fresh food. Like, it's all just Takis and whatever, and Coca-Cola in this tiny village that used to just mostly eat fish and turtle eggs and iguanas and grow corn and beans and pumpkin. You know what I mean? That, and pig lard and pig fat and pig meat. That was largely their diet. And so it's not lard. And that's my point. It's not lard that's making us sick and fat. My husband grew up in a family where they were so poor that lard and home rendered lard from their own pigs on tortillas was many days a week their diet. And so you can, that means that you can literally eat lard and corn in its whole form that's not genetically messed with, and it actually will sustain you, and it's nutrient dense food. And what we've done to it is that making Crisco or making corn, the corn is a shell of the beautiful blue and green corn that grows where my husband is from. You know what I mean? And so it's not the foods themselves. And that's why I don't want to get wrapped in like the vegan diet or the meat diet or the this. It's like, you can go and there's indigenous cultures that are eating mostly yams, and there's other indigenous cultures that literally only eat milk and blood. And so there is, and if you are eating a largely local diet that is local to your area, even if it's high in carbohydrates or it's high in fat and meat, and it is going to be healthy because it's whole foods from where you're from. And Weston A. Price has proven that pretty clearly. But we are void of any kind of nothing. And you know what? The other day, my kids went out to Thai food and they only ate steamed rice. Like, I'm not perfect. We go out to food sometimes, and they ate my son ate steamed rice and soy sauce. And then he was crying. And my husband's like, well, you should have eaten more at dinner time. And I was thinking to myself, well, he wants yogurt and honey, and my raw yogurt and honey from the farm is probably, worth giving it to him, because there's no nutrients in that rice. He didn't get anything to fill him up. And that's why he's crying, and he's 5 and he's hungry. And so I think we just have to look at, what can I eat from my own environment? And also we have to start growing food, even if it's a small act, like you're saying, you have avocado trees, but even growing a basil plant on your patio or growing a tomato plant on your patio, we have to reconnect with that way of creating our own food, because we're so disconnected.
It's true. It's very true. And I'm curious about raw yogurt, because our fermentation process that we've been doing, we started making yogurt a few months ago, and we've not figured out how to do the raw yogurt, but we have we pasteurize the raw milk sometimes. But apparently there was an issue with the protein that would somehow interrupt the fermentation process. Is that all bogus? How do you do your raw milk yogurt process, if you don't mind me asking?
So we did have a lot of problems with it, but now we have an Instapot that's just for yogurt. So we don't do like curry in the Instapot that's for yogurt. We have 2, and they're different colors. They're silver one or stainless ones, so we get not the black ones. And so that was the one thing that we were having problems with. I don't know though, for people that are not having your own cows, to be totally honest, because we take it warm right out of the cow. So we bring it at 90 something degrees warm right out of the cow, and I inoculate it. And what I actually think is the best culture for raw yogurt, for my milk, where whatever the bacteria that's in my milk here where we are is, do you know this Bulgarian mountain something Bulgarian yogurt comes in the glass jars? Mm-hmm. I use that as my inoculant to start my yogurt. It to me is strong enough to counterbalance whatever's in the milk. And so, but I don't know, because just from a food side, like I'm a chef, and so I understand like food safety stuff, getting raw going to battle that other bacteria. So I'm not sure, but you could try it. But that's what we do. So you could bring it back up to 98 degrees and see if it worked. But that's how we do it. And I really like the Bulgarian sour yogurt.
Me too. I do. How many hours do you ferment it for?
8.
8 hours at 90 degrees or 98?
Yeah, 8 hours at whatever the Instapot's yogurt temperature is. But
and
I think
on sous vide? Or no, you do the yogurt then, the yogurt
I press the yogurt, and then, but I don't heat it up. I just put it from the cow and then press the yogurt. And then we used to do 12 hours, but because I take the whole yogurt thing and put it in the fridge to chill overnight, I realize that it's continuing to ferment because it takes some time to cool it down. If you're doing it in the jars, like you're doing it in jars, and then you're just going to put the jars in the Instapot, or putting jars in a because you can mix the milk with the yogurt and then put it in jars and put it in your dehydrator or in your oven with the pilot light on or whatever, then in that case, I do 12 hours for the raw yogurt. But in the bigger container of the Instapot, it takes a little time to cool down. So I think 8 hours is better.
Okay. Yeah. Because we've been doing 36 hours for the El Gasseri, El Ruderi, and one other of a strain.
Uterine?
Ruderi and Gasseri.
Uterine.
No, Ruderi, El
What's
Ruderi.
the B one?
It's a GB dash like 110. It's a super gut formula, but that's, yeah, but you know, we should try the raw.
I've been wanting to do the raw milk only because
Yeah.
I know that it's more digestible and it's from A2 cows. So
Yeah, we could give it a try, but it would be from a bottle, definitely not from the cow until we find a local cow farmer, but there aren't too many in the region.
no, there isn't.
Where are you? I'll email me. I'll let you in on a little secret down low situation.
Oh, I love it. Can I ask you though, like what's going on? Why is raw milk illegal?
Because it's so healthy. It's a superfood. It's literally, if my breast milk, was my awakening. I'm sitting here, I'm breastfeeding my baby. Like, oh, I'm so good. I'm doing 2.5 years breastfeeding my baby. And then my toddler comes down and I'm pouring oat milk into a cup. And I'm like, wait, why is my breast milk God's perfect golden whatever? And why is Una's breast milk death? It's going to cause cancer. It's like the craziest idea ever. Like, obviously, raw milk is divine, God's perfect sustenance.
And goat milk too, right? Goat milk,
Goat
sheep
milk.
milk.
Yeah. I mean, probably pig milk, but pigs are gross. But I'm just saying, like, why would we think that? And Una, my cow, is living in the same environment that I'm living in, but a dirtier version of it. So her antibodies are perfectly suited to me. Like, why would I think that was going to cause cancer?
Yeah.
But I do think that raw dairy, alive raw dairy, is better food, like 100%. Nobody's going to convince me. I was on Max Levine's podcast and he was like, that's crazy. It's still protein. It's still this. It's still that. And I was like, nope. It's all about the microbiology. I disagree. You can't just boil the shit out of something and say it's the same thing.
Facts. Wow. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Wow.
Like, it would be like saying, oh, well, I like doing apple cider vinegar for my health, but distilled vinegar is the same, right? Like, obviously not. Like, obviously, alive with the mother, apple cider vinegar is totally different than dead distilled vinegar. Like, it's just the obvious fact.
Do you know about those books, the Essenes Gospels of Peace, the Dead Sea Scrolls?
No.
Well, they're Judeo-Christian texts, and they were translated from these caves in Jerusalem, and it's how Jesus lived and the lifestyle that Jesus taught his disciples to live, looking at the body as the temple, honoring the sun, the wind, the earth, and the water. And then he talked a lot about healing with grasses and, like, sprouted microgreens, basically, is what I translate it to. But he also talks about the milk of beasts and the dangers of eating the flesh of beasts. And he talks about it. And some people would say that those translations aren't necessarily 100% accurate. But then there are other people who take trips to Jerusalem to really, decode what is written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But I think that you would find that a lot of the truths that you've come to are in 100% alignment with these books. There are 4 volumes. They're very small books. It's written as kind of a poem, and they're really a reflection of everything the truths that you've come to live by. So I just wanted to be sure you knew about those if you didn't already.
I will check it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have to leave, you guys. The restaurant is open and my phone is just like blowing up. People need me.